What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Ice Gaming. Today we're going to be doing a tier list on the Warriors. Now, this isn't just for solo lane. This is kind of all encompassing for every role that could possibly play. And this is just my personal opinion. They aren't going to be in a specific order in the tier list except for the top 2 Warriors. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first god we're going to be talking about is Achilles. Now, Achilles is a very strong god. He has an execute. He has a protection, power stim, he can heal himself, he has a stun, combat dodge, and his passive is very, very strong. He doesn't really have a lot of issues, but his main issues is that he does have a little bit of a skill curve. He is easy on paper, but learning when to use combat dodge, the relatively long cooldowns, hitting the execute itself, makes him a pretty fair character, and the fact that he can jungle on top of being a really strong solo laner and a support. So he has a lot going for him. For me, he's just outside of S tier. I think he's A tier. He's a fair character with a lot going for him. Well, he's a kind of fair character with a lot going for him, but I can't really see myself giving him anything other than A tier. Next, we're going to be talking about Amaterasu. Now, Amaterasu, I have a few opinions on her. I think she's a very, very powerful solo laner. And can be pretty decent at jungling. She has a really strong ult. She does have a silence. She has a move that gives her damage mitigations and also works as her clear. So she had, and then a HP 5 heal, which is hard to anti-heal. So she has a lot going for her. My only issue with her is that when it comes to team fighting, all she really has is her ult, and her silence can only affect one god at a time. In most situations. Can hit multiple gods with the silence, but most of the time you're probably only going to be hitting one. So I think, and then on top of that, outside, like, her kit is very selfish in nature, so she can't really buff the team. She can't really do anything to set the team up other than ult. So I think she's again with Achilles at A tier. Again, this is not in any particular order, but this is just my opinion of the tier list. Up next we have Bellona. Now Bellona, a lot of people have mixed feelings about her. Some people think she's top tier. Some people think she's trash. Some think she's mid tier. Personally, I think she's B tier. Dead in the middle. Not bad, not great. Reason being is because she lacks a lot of CC. The only CC she does have is like a 20-30% slow, which can be pretty daunting. But again, it's just a slow. So if you have a run move, you're not going to be dealing with it a lot. She has a stun, but that stun is locked behind her ult, even though it does buff the team. She does have a disarm, but disarms don't really do anything against mages or anything like that. And then her hardest hitting ability, which is her 2, and makes her autos hit the hardest, it makes her attack speeds very, very slow. So I think she's run of the mill. I think she's B tier. In the hands of a really good player, she can run a game, but if she's going against a fully competent team, she's gonna. Chalk, C tier, free. Chalk is C tier free. I've never seen a god, any god in the game, hit 5 and then start losing. Like, and his passive really does nothing for him. It's a great passive, you know, being able to hit 5 autos and then your next ability costs no mana. But to engage, he loses that gigantic team slow, which is amazing, but he loses an engagement tool. His silence comes out too slow. Does good damage, but can be speeds, and then you can run away from him. To set up his run move, or to run away, he has to use 2 abilities, which is kind of dumb. His healing can be annoying early, but it's really nothing later. And then his scaling is also very bad. So I think Chalk does need a little bit of help. I can't see myself putting him in trash tier simply because he does have a silence, and he does have a very strong early game. But and he does pretty decent damage early, but other than that, I think he still needs some help. I think he's one of the worst warriors. Up next, we're going to talk about Cucullin. With the mystical mail change, with Bluestone being back in the game, with 6 abilities, with access to Berserk form, it makes him do more damage. he's S tier. I think he's one of the better warriors in the game. He had the fact that he has built-in anti-heal at like 40% if you get hit by his 1 in his normal form. He has a CC immune knockup, and then while he's in big form, he has access to a root, a push, a tremble, all on top of the fact that while you're standing next to him, you're going to be taking damage because of his 2 being a passive now. He can pump out a lot of damage while also CCing the team to death and having a million abilities on top of that while being tanky. So Cullen is definitely S tier for me. Only issues is that he doesn't really have access to all of his CC at any given point. He has to know how to manage his rage meter and transforming in the middle of a fight. So it does hurt him a little bit, but it doesn't change the fact that he's an S tier guy. Up next, we're going to be talking about Erlang Shen. Now, Erlang Shen is a toss-up for me. He's a very powerful AA jungler. Just a meh solo laner and a meh support. His ultimate, while being good and being a taunt, getting the heal back takes a very long time. So you had to ult pretty early into a fight, or you have to ult at really specific times. And the fact that it's a taunt making them hit you makes it harder for you to do that. But the fact that the fact that it's very hard to box him one-on-one. Matter of fact, a lot of guys can't box him one-on-one. It's a toss-up. So I would personally put him. I want to put him at A. I feel like he deserves to be in B. Not because he's bad, but because, like I said, his ult hurts him a little bit, while doubling being a really strong ult, but also putting him in danger, it hurts him. On top of the fact that his run move, as strong as it is, even though he has a root, most of the time he either has to use it in an engagement or in a fight. So if you engage with it and then somebody else comes out the jungle, he's screwed. Has no way to really defend himself. So, and then his root is a skill shot because you had to hit it at the dead center of the move. So I think that as a god and as a jungler, he's amazing, but he gets hurt just because he can only really perform one role amazingly. So I think he's beat. Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is this, like, remember what I said, I was going to be putting my top 2. Gilgamesh is the second best warrior in the game, no doubt in my mind. Gilgamesh is the second best warrior in the game. He has good damage, amazing CC, great team fighting ult, a good team setup with his leap. His drop kick is dumb. His passive, while his passive is the weakest part of his kit, the fact that you get a free tier 1 item and then you can sell it for no gold cost to you is amazing. I don't think a lot of people really understand how good it is to be able to be in a laning situation, especially in solo lane, and then get a free item, which gives you more utility. So you need to get tankier, you get more damage, you can get more movement speed. You know, it gives you something that gives you an edge over the solo laner if they haven't been able to back. So, and then you can do that twice. So I think that's very, very strong for him. His only real weakness is that he loses to the number 1 warrior. That's it. Everything else, he just bodies everybody. And even if he loses the laning phase, his team fight phase is a struggle to deal with. So he's the second best warrior. Up next, we have Guan Yu. Most of the community thinks Guan Yu is trash. I'm not with them. He's S tier, in my opinion. I would agree or argue that maybe he's A tier, but that ult, if you slap on Caduceus, that heal, the fact that he can reduce his own cooldowns, the fact that he's a Matarasu with support-like abilities, a slow, a mad amount of damage, a protection shred, he can be an absolute menace. And then his abilities do more if he has his passive fully stacked. Like, and then, I know this was a couple years ago, but he had like a win rate of like 64%. That's a lot. That means over half the time, if you go against Guan Yu, you're probably going to lose if the Guan Yu is competent. I really can't see Guan Yu being bad. His kit is too strong for him to be bad, and then his ult does so much damage on top of the fact that it's a stun. So he's a beads burner with a slow, a protection shred, and a group heal that can also heal minions. So he can support, he can solo, and then if you're really good, you can jungle with him. I can't see Guan Yu being bad. So in my mind, he's S tier. Maybe bottom of S, but I think he's S tier. Next, we have Hercules. Now, Hercules is a toss-up for me. He's an amazing support. He's a solo laner. He can jungle. He's an jungler. And then his ult hurts. He has a stun. He has a skill shot pull. His heal can be really nutty to deal with if you don't build anti-heal. I'm pretty sure everybody's had those situations where they're first learning the game or your team doesn't have anti-heal. You dump everything you have at Hercules, and he has this much life, and then that second part of that heal pops back in, and now his health bar is back at full. I 100% believe everybody's dealt with that. But Hercules struggles when the late game comes into play, but he's a monster when it comes to early and mid game if you play support. So I think he's B tier, probably like mid of B tier. He is the definition of a mid warrior. He has good CC, he has good sustain, he has a good damaging ult, but he's mid. Horus, S tier support, C tier solo laner, okay jungler. Horus's big issues is that his cooldowns are absolutely abysmal. His ult, while being a great ult, you need to have 100% communication with your team, and in a perfect scenario, you could have that, but this is Smite, and we're not crazy. We've had those teammates who are toxic or refuse to listen, even in situations where like you're going against a really strong team, or you have a really strong team on your back. Sometimes some people just don't listen, or they're just not teamed up. So his ult is very team dependent, very team dependent. I think he's A tier. I can't put him in S. I want to put him in S because of how strong his support game is, the fact that he has a protection shred, a knockup, team heal, but because of his cooldowns, his mana management, and the fact that his ult is just very team reliant, I had to put him in A. King Arthur. Only god in the game that can consistently beat Gilgamesh. Cullen can beat Gilgamesh. King Arthur can do it more. Like, he can do it way more often, right? Like, Gilgamesh on paper is actually better than King Arthur because he has a team fighting ult, a stun, he has a lot going for him. But people don't realize King Arthur has a cripple, he has a slow, he has a knockup, he has a protection shred, he has double damage on his one, he has a stun, he has a banish, he has a lot going for him, while also being extremely tanky, while also being able to keep going, right? The only reason I think Gilgamesh is number 2 is because King Arthur not only beats him, but Gilgamesh at some point has to stop. He has cooldowns. King Arthur has 8 abilities, so he can always keep hitting you and always keep going. Even if he loses at level 2 and level 3 to level 5, at some point, Gilgamesh is not going to be able to fight King Arthur anymore. Like, at some point in the game, he's not going to be able to fight him anymore. Right? And it's extremely hard to hit a King Arthur. It's extremely hard to hit a good King Arthur, right? And he's always gonna have something to hit you with. So King Arthur is the number one, without a doubt in my mind, number 1 warrior in the game. Mulan, can be a pretty decent jungler, can be a really good support, pretty good at solo lane. She's pretty strong everywhere. She still has the same issues as before, though. Her late game is bad. Her ultimate is bad. Like, it's good for engaging. It's okay for running away, but if you use it to run away and you don't know how to cancel it, you get killed. Her damage falls off pretty hard, where her CC is just not as existent. But she does have sustain. She does have a pretty decent amount of CC and a pretty decent amount of damage. So for me, I think she's B tier, top of B. Maybe just outside of A, but top of B. Nike. Now, something that y'all are gonna quickly realize about me is that I hate cop-out characters. Nike is definitely one of them. I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible, but I don't think Nike is as bad as people are saying, right? A lot of the time, people like to bring up that Nike, oh, if you get Sundering Spear, Nike can't do anything. And I'm just sitting here like, well, if you have to build a specific item to counter somebody, or you have to play a certain way to counter somebody, that character is dumb by design. That's why Loki got nerfed. You have to, like, oh, if you get fucking, if everybody counter picks him, then Loki can't do anything. And I'm just sitting here like, well, if that's the case, then the character is dumb and needs to be changed. Nike's no different. She has a long-range clear move that shreds protections and disarms. She has a move that pushes people and absorbs projectiles. She has a really good leap that knocks up, and then her ult slows by like 50%, and then gives her a health shield that's equal to a portion of her maximum health. So she could be almost dead, and then ult, and then now you can't kill her. And then on top of that, she has one of the best passive, in my opinion, the best passive in the game. The best team passive in the game. Movement speed and power just for playing the game. Right? So, in my opinion, I think Nike is A tier. Right? I can't really put a place for her. I want to put her in S tier. I do. I want to put her in S tier. But because Sundering Spear is a thing, she is a little countered. But she does bolster really low cooldowns, high damage, and is very tanky. So she can be very daunting to deal with. Plus, she can solo support, and if you're good, you can jungle with her. She has a lot going for her. So, I think she's a damn near top of A. Damn near top of A. Only reason being not top of A is because Achilles in the game and can shut her down. Kinda. Odin, only person I'm putting in trash tier. Only warrior I'm putting in trash tier, without a doubt in my mind. Here's my reasonings. He has to use multiple abilities just to do average damage. He only has his ult that's good in team fights. He loses in the laning phase. He's not a great jungler. He could do a lot of damage if he's the jungler. And he can set you up for failure if he's a jungler, don't get me wrong. But competent player will never lose an Odin. Will never, unless that Odin is an actual god or an SPL member. I think Odin is absolute. Bait me on it, talk about it, but there's literally 0 point to play Odin unless you're just trying to piss the enemy team off because of the shield. That is it. And then his passive sucks. Like, you get power for killing people, but your kill potential may be a little high, but you put yourself in harm's way, and then your stun sucks. So, he's trash. I don't think there's really a point to play him. I think he needs to rather rework or to just change him, completely. I don't think he's that good at all. Up next, we have Osiris. Now, Osiris is a toss-up. He's an amazing bully. If he wants you dead, he could probably get you dead, right? Because of all the slows and stuns and damage mitigation she has, and then he has a really great anti-heal ultimate. So he's really good. His only issues is that he lacks hard CC, and his only hard CC he has can be broken out of. And then on top of that, his team fight's kind of bad, but in a 1v1 situation, he's an absolute monster, and he can soak up a lot of damage because he gets so much damage mitigations. So I think he's top of A. I think he's actually top of A. Not even, like, even with the Achilles matchup, if he gets stunned, doesn't matter. He has damage mitigations, and he's going to mitigate your damage with the tether, and you can't really get away from it, even with combat dodge, right? Because he can just slow you and speed himself up. So Osiris is definitely top of A. He can't be an S, but I think he's top of A. Sun Wukong. Same thing with Denki. I hate him. He may not have the team fighting passive, but his passive is still one of the best solo lane passives in the game. And the fact that he can jungle. He actually can jungle. It's just, you know, the better junglers can beat him, right? But he's a cop-out character with a stupid good ult, dumb damage, His passive, I hate his passive. The fact that he gets power and protections for getting beat up, while also having one of the safest kits in the game, and mad amounts of damage. It's so annoying. And then word of mouth, they're trying to balance the game to make Sun Wukong the best warrior, and I don't know why, because he's already very strong. I hate this character. He has a lot going for him. I'm putting him in S. Because there's really nothing you can do to stop him unless you kill him before he ults. Or you cursed onk him before he ults. But even if he gets cursed onk and he ults early, he's still safe because you can't hit him while he's in the air. He can wait for his bull to be off cooldown, land, and then dash away. And it's really not a lot you can do about it unless you cripple him. So, and then auto attackers struggle against him too, because he has a slow on top of an attack speed slow, and he can outpoke a lot of people. Like, I think Sun Wukong is one of the better warriors in the game. I think he's definitely S tier. Tier was King Arthur before King Arthur was King Arthur, right? Lots of sustain, lots of damage, good CC. Really oppressive passive. If you don't know what his passive does, it basically means he can't be stunned, mezzed, or put to sleep for more than a second. And then that does stack with crowd control. So you really can't, it's really hard to CC a good tier. Only way you can really beat tier is to jump him and then cripple him. You have to do both. If you jump him but you don't cripple him, he has cooldowns, he's gonna keep healing, he's gonna keep pushing you, he's gonna get away. So, his only issues is that when the late game does come along, he does struggle a little bit because of his CC. He's mostly an annoying character, so I would put him in A tier. And then last but not least, we have Vamana. Vamana, in my opinion, is better than Shock, but that's not saying much, right? I think he's C tier. Again, he would be Sun Wukong if Sun Wukong was extremely fair. Vamana has almost everything that Sun Wukong does, but his ultimate is really bad. His damage is meh. His clear is meh. And one of his hardest hitting moves is a skill shot, and only does a lot of damage if you manage to hit both times at the same time. So, and his ultimate is actually worse for him than it is beneficial to him. So I think he's... And ignore this last one. This is Jean Quay. It was for another video. Ignore it. But this is my tier list for the Warriors. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is personal opinion in no particular order except for the top two. And without further ado, I'll catch y'all later.